We got this started. That is awesome. Yes!
We made it.
Finally.
Howdy.
I want you to be center. All right. Well, we'll just have to do this now. And I'm gonna make sure this is recording. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Nick, for being tech support. I really appreciate that.
Thanks, Nick.
In the meantime, well, before I get you to talk, I just want to make sure it's recording on my computer. So I'm pulling it up on my computer so we can make that happen. This is a nightmare.
See that? My girlfriend's watching, and she's sitting right next to me. She's so supportive.
Oh, that's so cool of her. How's it going, girlfriend of him? What's her name?
Hello.
All right, perfect.
We're here?
Perfect.
We're connected.
You're actually all right, cool. All right, so it's recording on my computer. I'm actually gonna leave so that the audio doesn't mess with it. And I'll go outside. It's gorgeous outside.
Okay, cool.
Finally. Oh man, I'm so happy that this is actually working. All right.
You pulled it off.
I pulled it off. Woohoo! And with Nick's help, with your help, I want to appreciate you guys for being patient. So I want to put you in this. Can I move you guys? I want you to be like large. Well, okay. I wanted you to be like the center photo and then me to be the background photo because it's your interview. But I'll make you like that's fine. I'll just like you're a small guy in the corner, but that'll be enough.
You can switch it.
Tell us where you are.
Oh no, that's
on the top of a roof somewhere.
Yeah, I'm currently in Istanbul, Turkey, overlooking like the whole city basically from a terrace at this cafe. And the weather was really crap earlier today, but now it's cleared up, and you just get kind of. Let me just show everyone what it looks like. There you go. This is my current view. And
gorgeous.
I don't want to give people the false impression that, I'm some sort of millionaire and that's why I can be up on top of a cafe terrace in Istanbul showing off beautiful views, because I think a lot of people get a false impression that, that somehow me doing that means I'm successful or some crap like that.
Well, success is in achieving what you're looking to achieve. It's not necessarily in somebody else's opinion of you.
True. That's very true.
Yeah, and that's actually something that I really appreciate about the way that you talk about dating. I think we added each other because we were in the same group like a couple weeks ago or like a month ago, and then we chatted briefly. And then I saw some posts on your timeline. We actually had an interview set up last week that we both forgot about.
Yeah.
I saw some stuff in your timeline, and you're talking about relationships in a way that was like really, really like genuine, and I appreciated that because I mean, a lot of you guys know I tried pickup for about a year, and I was pretty successful in it. I enjoyed a lot of women, and women enjoyed a lot of me. But at the same time, I felt like I was turning into an asshole that wasn't me, and I was like becoming manipulative, and I actually lost a lot of friends in the process. Destroyed my relationships, and I started to realize kind of the things that you teach, and I'll let you talk about it, and I want to share. I'll let you, since this is your interview, I'll let you share how you think about relationships.
Sure. So, I'm kind of in a similar boat. I got into the kind of pickup stuff when I was 19 and was involved in that for many years, and it didn't take me long to realize that there was something a bit askew, something a bit weird about it, that it wasn't making me happier, that even if I was getting results with women, it wasn't really answering deeper questions I had about my own sense of self-worth and confidence and stuff like that. So of course I did what everyone does in that situation. I ended up getting really obsessed with self-development, and eventually I realized that self-development was another way to kind of avoid actually looking at the problem, and all of that's led me to where I am now, where I took a really long journey to work on my head and deal with a lot of my insecurities.
How's it going? No,
without
no.
anyone really,
See,
without anyone really knowing, without anyone
yeah,
really being aware of it, without my family being aware of it,
sure.
or friends or anyone. I was kind of very covertly working on myself for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was fortunate to find the right mentor who I basically relentlessly persisted in wanting to be trained by, and eventually he caved, and then we spent 7 years working on my head and my insecurities and teaching me his skill set. And all of that kind of made me realize just how much of the dating game is about us, and how much of attracting a quality partner is about us. It's about us, and it's about like what we're willing to do to become the best version of ourselves. And that sounds a little bit cliche, but it's ultimately true. And I'm fortunate that I come from an interesting camp where I don't think you need to become a pickup artist to become good with women, but I also don't think just kind of being passive and expecting it to happen, and if you wait long enough the right girl will find you. I don't think either of those extreme attitudes are a good perspective to have.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is it's important to be centered. You found that it's important to be centered in yourself, which means pickup is being centered in her. But you found it's important to be centered in yourself, but at the same time have that same drive to be the best you, because you're only going to attract somebody who is at your level. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's like the more that you know what you're about as a man, the more attractive that is to women.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're, it's kind of funny because when guys get caught up in the whole, is she gonna like me? Can I say this? What does it mean if she does this?
Yeah.
And all this kind of crap. That's actually keeping them away from being masculine. It's all those things that are keeping him away from being masculine, because the masculine dude knows what he's about,
Mm-hmm.
and he doesn't waver to what everyone else is doing. He knows what he's about, and he stands his ground. And he, instead of worrying about what some girl's message might mean, he makes a decision. He says, "Is this something I want to tolerate? Is this who I am?" And if it's not, then he makes a decision for himself, and he gets away from the things that aren't in alignment with who he wants to be. And I guess that's kind of where we're at now, right? Because something that I'm working on is the last 3 months I've been traveling and stuff, and obviously keeping my business afloat, but I kind of fell into a real deep pit, and that pit made me realize that I wasn't really sure how to best be helping people whilst also being of help to other people. And then going through that sort of struggle made me come out the other side and realize, you know what, there's really not many good examples of being a man,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
there's either these sort of hyper masculine examples, or there's these kind of like guys who equate being a man to how good you are at getting laid. And
Yeah.
neither one of those perspectives is, to me at least, really what it means to be a man. And it's taken me a
Yeah.
long time
And
to
then
realize
also
that.
in America and some other parts of the world, we have some institutionalized beliefs that actually oppress men from being masculine, and a societal pressure to be less of yourself, which of course is always societal pressure, and a man wouldn't believe in those things. But I think it's really important to note the societal pressures against masculinity that are very prevalent in parts of the U.S.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of that same issue of like, um, I think there is, I think there is a toxic masculinity, and that's
Mm-hmm.
that falsity where guys are trying to determine their worth by whether or not whether attractive women validate them or not, and bravado and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I don't think that it has to do with patriarchy, and I don't think feminism is the answer.
Mm-hmm.
I I do think that there's a lot of signs of men not really having good examples.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I'm perfect by any means, and I'm not trying to say that I'm not trying to say that I'm the ultimate man, because I'm not. But I almost feel like that's why it's so important, because I'm just a normal dude. Um, I've become very sure of myself in this journey. I've become very sure of myself in this journey, and I think really a man is about his convictions, and he's also about his humility, and he's also about like not being afraid to express himself in whatever kind of shape or form that comes up. And
Mm-hmm.
if I can help other people do that, if I can help other guys do that in their own way rather than what they think will get them XYZ result,
Mm-hmm.
then I think they will become better men. And I think by becoming better men, they will be examples for other people, and they'll impact the world in a positive way. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, because that's one of my core beliefs, is that in becoming the best of yourself, that's the best you can do for others. It's just like how there's you're never gonna make yourself sick enough to help the sick become healthy. If it's about health, like the more healthy you are and the more clear you are in what you do to keep your health and how you think about your health and how you keep your health, that's how you're going to help all the sick people, is by being as healthy as possible and bringing them up. And I think I really like what you're doing, is that you're saying in building a world of positive masculinity, of helping men become their best selves. The best way I'm going to do it is to do it myself, and then to share the ways I've done it and my journey. And that's something I really respect about you, because I think that the dating pool of dating coaches is way too full of people that are like, oh, you wanna like, girls believe this, so you have to react to it when they say this to like that. And I mean, yeah, there might be some kind of that's somewhat effective in getting girls, but is it effective in becoming the best you? You know, and what if you just become the best you, and then because you're a person that gives value to people, then you're able to get um, get validation from women because you're worthy of it, because you care about what you think about. And that's I think a change that people make internally once they get to the point where they've gotten it out of their system, if you will. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry about the birds. I'm not in charge of the birds. They just fly by. So I'll do if I can, I'll tell them to be quiet. Yeah. So touching on that point, like, sorry, I got thrown off track for a second.
It's okay. Talking
Oh
about
yeah. So essentially, like, it's that it's a bit complicated, and it's a bit hypocritical for me, because obviously I kind of went on that pickup journey and came full circle, and that's why I realized what I realize now. And at the same time, it's easy to say, oh, you just need to not want the validation of women in order to get them, and for guys to be like, well, that's easy for you to say. Well, yeah, it is easy because I've done all the work. It's that if you look at what's really attractive and why girls end up with assholes instead of, say, the good guys, the one thing that the assholes have is conviction. They know what they're about. They stand firm in that, and that makes them strong, or that makes them like not the dependable force, not a dependable structure that the woman can absolutely rely on, but it's better than what they're getting from nice guys and guys who don't have a backbone, because those guys are worrying about whether she's going to like how tall he is or short, or if he has a big nose, or whether he's got money or whatever. And those concerns make him, they're actually a sign of him being more in his femininity, because his concerns about all that shit is actually what she's concerned about. And she's not looking to connect with a woman. She's looking to connect with a man. And a man, the best way I can put it, and I hate to put it because I'm not very spiritual, but I'll agree with the metaphor, is in David Data's book, The Way of the Superior Man. He talks about a soldier going to war, and he talks about the idea that the partner of the soldier is saying to him as he's leaving and walking away from the door, I don't want you to go. Stay here with the kids and I.
Yeah.
And the reality is that if he does that, if he if he wavers in his conviction and he does that instead of what his true drive in life is, which is to go to war and fight, and you know, his purpose, and that she's going to ultimately end up resenting him because it means that she's more important than anything else in his life, and no woman wants to be more important than anything else in a man's life. She wants to be very important, absolutely, but she needs to be like a 10, but then like his life and his mission and his convictions need to be a 11.
Yeah.
And
there's a really great quote. Have you heard Zan Perion's book, The Alabaster Girl?
I haven't read it, but I've heard really good things, and I do know
Amazing.
some of those guys.
If you want the PDF, I'm sorry, Zan, but if you want the PDF, I have it for you. I'll just send that to you later. Again, sorry, Zan, because I really respect him, and I don't want to like cause him to lose money. But when it comes to, he's such an enlightened guy, and I really appreciate where he comes from, because he's like, somebody in the book. He kind of asks himself questions in this narrative format. It's kind of poetic. It's kind of cool. And he's like, the interviewer that he made up asked him the question, what's the difference between you and a pickup artist? And he said, empathy. And I thought that was interesting because when it comes from what you were saying, he says, and this is a great quote that I think exemplifies it in another way. I've read The Superior Man, which is a great book. This exemplifies it in this. Like, women want you to love them, but they want you to love yourself more. And so it's almost like whenever I'm talking to somebody, like, I'll be like, I really like you and I want you, but at the same time, I love myself more, and that's the most important thing to me. What do you think about that wording? Does that bring up any thoughts for you?
Yeah, I think that's kind of on the right track. As long as we don't confuse loving ourselves more with being completely unreasonable and unwilling to kind of work with someone else. But I think he means that because he talks about empathy. So Zan's a very clued on guy, and I guess there was a long period where I didn't really agree with Zan, and it's because I couldn't see it the way he saw it, because I was insecure. And don't get me wrong, I still have insecurities, and I think that's a part of like becoming into your manliness, is instead of having this disownership or this shame around it, it's like that's actually what makes you human, and that's where this kind of deeper sense of confidence comes from. Like, for instance, I got family on this live now, and they're hearing me say shit, and I've also got clients, and I got other people, and of course they've got impressions of me, and I can't control those impressions, and they might think I'm full of shit, or they might think like, whoa, I didn't know that about you, or whatever. I've spent so much of my life trying to hide or shame away or disconnect from all these parts that I like didn't want other people, because I feared what others would judge of those things in me, and I'm just too tired with that. And I've realized like that I actually garner a lot more respect within myself and from other people, and more confidence and better connections, all by being more real within myself.
So you found that being vulnerable has gotten you to become a lot closer to people, even though sometimes you're afraid of what they'll think.
Well, it's a catch-22, because I think vulnerability in and of itself is not enough, and this is where nice guys end up getting really hurt. You can't be vulnerable if you can't defend yourself. It's like you can't beat. I don't know how much you're into MMA, but Anderson Silva used to keep his hands down when he fought, and allow someone to attack him.
Yeah.
And he's a counterpuncher. Well, you can't be vulnerable. You can't expose yourself and open yourself up to an attack of any kind, emotionally or other.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm gonna bring George on again. I apologize for that delay. I remember exactly what we're talking about, and it's recorded on my computer, so I'll just put that up soon. My phone was in direct sunlight, and it was like, this is getting way too hot, so I'm going to shut down for a moment. So now that we're done with that, let me try to get George on. Yes, request your viewers. Share broadcast. Invite friends to watch. I'm going to invite George back on. We're going to open up the questions. George, cool. All right, perfect. So, yeah, we were just chatting. Hey, how's it going, George? I'm going to put you back in the video. What happened was, it was kind of weird. What happened? It ended up where it was, the sun was directly on my phone, and it all of a sudden was like, it's too hot, gotta cool down now, so I'm in the shade. I'm gonna find a process that works. Trust me, this is a bit new of a process for me, but we're gonna make it work.
All right, I'm back.
Last thing we were talking about, you're talking about how the MMA fighter would let his guard down, but only because he knew he could punch him back, and that was an analogy for vulnerability, you said.
Yeah, because obviously, if you look at nice guys and stuff, they're ultimately very vulnerable. But the problem is that vulnerability is from insecurity, and it's also without the ability to actually defend themselves. And what they're lacking is that assertiveness. And assertiveness is about having boundaries and being able to stand up for yourself. And if you're going to be vulnerable, you have to be able to do those things, which is why so many guys are anxious about going up to a girl and asking her out, or worried about her rejecting them, or being embarrassed or whatever. It's because they think that anything she does is something they have to put up with, and that they ultimately are in a win-lose situation because they're going to be vulnerable, and the only possibility is they either don't get hurt or they get hurt a lot, and that's just stupid. It's not just about being vulnerable. You've got to balance that. Just like you can't just go into a ring and let someone punch you.
Yeah. But then again,
if
you're in a therapy session, like the environment's different, and then the ideal thing to do there would just be talk about yourself. It depends on your environment, and even if your therapist says something that's not true to you, you still need to be like, hey, no, that's not me. I think that's an interesting thing to say. Thing to like just enumerate is the difference between vulnerability and weakness, and I mean they can exist at the same time. And some people equate the two, and some people like they don't necessarily understand the difference. And I have an understanding, but because this is your interview, I wanna ask you, how would you explain the difference, and then I'm gonna open it up to question.
Sure. So I guess the difference is that vulnerability is about ownership of your humanity and the fact that you have chinks in your armor, right? But weakness is being ashamed of that, and also exposing those chinks in the armor when you shouldn't be, when it's not safe to be, when it's not a good idea to do so. So to be vulnerable, you also need to be able to protect yourself. And if you can't do that, then it limits your ability to be vulnerable, because the only result that you can possibly get from being vulnerable is to get hurt. And that's what happens. You see it all the time. And then people don't want to be vulnerable because it hurts. Well, it hurts because you're going into a situation where the risk and the hurt are there, and are possibilities, but you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, you got to be able to defend yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. If I go up to somebody and I'm not rude to them, and I'm not an arsehole to them, and they say start laughing at me or making fun of me, I'm not going to just be like, I'm not going to put my head down and walk off sulking. I'm going to be like, what kind of human being are you? Like, I'm going to stand my ground.
Yeah. There's a lot of experiences where you have the choice of, do I let them person walk over me, or do I say no? Like, I'm just gonna stand my ground, and they might be angry at me, and they might even fight me back, but I know I can defend myself because I'm convicted in that I'm right. But at the same time, being convicted in what you're right and saying what that is, like for instance, this guy cut in front of me in line when I had like two things I was buying. This is a really short example. And he had like a whole group of things he was buying, like a whole shopping cart full. And I'm like, no, I was here first. You can't do that. And he was actually getting angry. He was like trying to shove in front of me to get in front of him. But that, me saying what I was convicted of, was me being vulnerable. Now, I was not being weak at all. In fact, I was being quite strong. And I think that's what you're talking about. And that's a really silly example. Like you putting in front of mine was like Tony Hink. But I think that's an example of what you're saying, is that it's important to be vulnerable, to be open about what your conviction is, but also to be vulnerable in a strong way.
Yeah, 100%. You have, like, it's one of the things that I've learned from, you know, getting more passionate about martial arts, because growing up I was very much a soft kid, afraid of everything, and sometimes I still am. Like I still have, I'm still very unconfident when it comes to driving, and sometimes doing riskier things. And when I was growing up, I was very scared and afraid of risk, and I was very scared and afraid of hurt, and very soft. And as I've gotten older and more mature, and I've kind of learned that it's important that we find inner strength, that's kind of got me into the martial arts domain. And the beauty of martial arts is it teaches you how to deal with adversity rather than running away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is that's the component of that vulnerability, or that nice guy side, or that good guy side, that those guys are missing, that would actually give them a backbone and make them more attractive. It's like, you don't have to be an asshole. You don't have to be a sociopath. You don't have to be fake. You can be a good guy. You can be vulnerable. But if that's all you're going to be, and you don't know how to protect yourself, and you don't have boundaries, and you don't have standards, then expect to get shit on.
Yeah, yeah. I do want to say that it's coming near to the end, so I want to invite anyone who's watching. To comment any questions that you have for George, so that he can answer them. I know that a couple say, yeah, here you go. Some people are watching now. I know Gia's watching. David Kosciusko's watching. He's the one that's actually teaching me phone flipping, and I'm very thankful for his course. Nick, Leon's an impressive guy that I appreciate. He has an online course in Germany, based in Germany. An online course company based in Germany made 7 figures in the first 6 months, evangelizing online education. So a lot of inspiring people watching, people who I feel inspire me to become a better person. If you have any questions for him, feel free to comment. If not, that's cool too. I'm going to take the first part and the second part. I'm going to edit them together and then put it up so that we have a seamless thing. And it's going to be on YouTube. It's also going to be on the Unchain Yourself podcast. I got myself an Apple Podcast recently. Woohoo! That was a win. I was happy for that. And George, all right, so seems like people watching are happy listening, which is okay. If you have a question, feel free to comment now. But George, I know that you have a mastermind coming up, and you're looking to help people become the best selves. So before we sign off, just talk about that a bit.
Sure. So this idea kind of came about a week ago. I'm realizing that many men want to be in a supportive group around other men, and that I also wanted to make it more accessible for guys to be able to work with me. And it's kind of come to my attention that there's a lot of talk about being an alpha male, but there's very little about integrity. And when I talked about that story with the soldier, if he had given in to what his girlfriend or his partner had said, he would have been out of integrity. And that's what I'm noticing with guys when it comes to relationships and also other areas. And I am ready to start a movement called the Integral Alpha. And the idea of the Integral Alpha is showing men how to be men, masculine men, who have integrity, who come from an authentic place, who can have high quality relationships, be successful, be leaders of tomorrow, and make an impact. And we've put together this mastermind. It works on a monthly basis. It's 67 USD. You can opt in for as long as you want or as short as you want, as long as you're getting value. I suspect that if people commit a year to it, they'll get a MBA in life and relationships over that period of time. And it's going to be great. We're going to cover things around relationships, around success, around self-mastery, especially around our emotions, and understanding our deeper issues, our deeper wounds and traumas, and how we can address those things. And just all around being an awesome masculine man. And I'm hoping that my kind of balance between not being overtly hyper masculine, but also not being overtly too on the other side of, the nice, we have to be empathetic and compassionate, the kind of central means of those two extremes. I'm hoping that that's a unique perspective, and that my unique similarity to all the other men out there, that because I'm not special in any way, actually acts as a platform for them to recognize their greatness and have great relationships and become great people, and hopefully do it in much shorter time than it took me. So if guys are interested in that, we have 12 guys that have committed to this. I'm limiting it to
Hello.
20. Joe's in. So we got awesome guys all on board. I'm going to probably get 15 at a minimum before we get up and running in August. I would love 20. So if any of you listening, watching, whether you're female or male, know anybody that would benefit from this, or if it would be yourself, reach out to me or Joe. Joe can put you in touch with me, and would love to have you on board, and I can't wait.
Sounds exciting. I'm really excited for it to start. So if you reach out to him or to me, if you reach out to him, let me know. Let him know I referred you. If you reach out to me, I'll put you two in touch on a group chat or whatever. Cool guy. I appreciate you guys watching. I'm gonna put this up later. I'm also gonna put it up on Unchain Yourself podcast. I really like helping myself grow to be where I'm in a place of control in my life and of where I'm dictating where my life goes. And of course, there's a bit of vulnerability and a bit of spontaneity in it too. But it's really important to me to become centered to myself, and that's what Unchain Yourself podcast is all about, as part of Project Unchained. So you're going to see this on the Unchain Yourself podcast. I'm going to put some links up, and I'm also going to write some blog articles and put it on YouTube and all that jazz. You'll see more about that. If you haven't subscribed yet, though, go to projectunchained.com so you can unchain yourself to live life on your own terms. And just click Join Project Unchained. I have a free ebook for you. I learned from my time solo traveling, which will help you gain a more free life inside you, more possibilities, more worldliness, more cultured through travel. And the ebook will help you with that. 100% free. Just want to give you guys some value and help you become more passionate. So I wish you the best, George. Thank you so much for coming on, and I will be in touch to give you links for all the content that I'm going to be creating with this.
Thanks, Joe. Like, it's been awesome, and thank you to everyone that listened and watched. And I hope it's been of value to you guys. Hope you have a great day, and yeah, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.